The first thing to remember is that the members of your team are possibly not accustomed to being employees, probably not accustomed to being contractors, and certainly not accustomed to being remote employees. So the most important thing you can do is communicate early, communicate often, make it very clear that you are an open resource to them, that they can reach out to you at any time, and to encourage them when they do so that they really realize that they are not impinging on your time.
One thing I think was very helpful was at the very start of the clinic program, sit with the students and redefine what the goals are for each semester. So not only what the goals for the project are, but first semester, this is the goal. Second semester, this is the goal.
The main thing is to come up with something right away that works for everyone. So for example, where do you store data? Do you need everyone to have access to data? How do you share images? Do you do sort of a WebEx or Skype or something like that once a week during the telecons, or do you send a PowerPoint up front and do a phone call?
Redundancy. Make sure that there are people on your team of liaisons who can fill every role, so that if one of you is out for a particular meeting or out for a week, other people in your group of liaisons can continue to answer the questions that would normally be handled by that person. You never want to be in a situation where your students and your team are blocked on you because one of you is on vacation or on parental leave or something like that. So make sure that you always have redundancy and can continue to answer questions and provide resources to students.
Yeah, the once a week meetings are really good. I think sometimes it takes more frequent communication than that to make sure they're on track and they're not stuck. I'd also say the site visits are really useful. So giving the students a view of what your company does and meeting other people within the company has been, I think, really useful.
One other thing that I've learned that we did this past year that I think was really helpful is instead of just having a single teleconference with students once a week, we would have that, but then we would also in addition have what we called office hours with maybe 2 or 3 students who are working on a particular thing and somebody at the company who had knowledge, and they would take their cell phones and cameras and they would actually be in the lab showing each other things, and that just was another sort of checkpoint during the week and really helped communication flow.
Bring your students to your company. One of the things I did that worked very well was on one project we had a team come down when our company was having a fair of all the technologies we had out, and so that the students were able to see what different departments were doing. Another one was when we just simply invited about 20 of my colleagues to sit down and have a roundtable with the students and let the students ask them, well, what's your job like, and what do you do for a living, and do you like working in the medical industry? And lastly, go to see a customer. I mean, go with them, take them to, in my case, to a hospital, and we did that with many of our teams, and let them talk to the nurses directly and let them talk to biomedical engineers, physicians, and that really puts them in the driver's seat.
So if you feel something that's not quite right in the early stage, I would point that out, blank face. Just talk to the students and be very honest about that, and just saying, I don't think this is the way to go, and so on. And sometimes it takes some learning curve for the students because they don't quite know how to, switch directions, or just kind of based on where they got stuck, they don't know how to move forward. So there's a little bit back and forth, but if you feel something that's not going well, you need to be very honest about it and just saying, here's a suggestion, don't be discouraged, but I don't think that's the right way to go. Just sort of be very frank about it. I think that's very important. So the communication, be very transparent, that's critical.
For example, this past year, my clinic team, we had a pivot in the middle of the year because we did a whole bunch of experiments in the first half of the year, recognized that what we were trying to do might not actually be possible, and so we made a shift, and the team was able to successfully complete some really interesting things for the client, but we would have continued to beat ourselves against the wall. And also, the students need to recognize that sometimes a company, as you go along, you learn something, and they think, oh, we really want to pursue that more instead of whatever it was we said at the beginning, and have a kind of pivot and say, let's go here. And those are, so I think if you set up the sort of lines of communication early and the sort of norm of let's periodically check our goals, it's a lot easier to catch those things and move instead of being a big thing when everything changes.
One thing to watch out for is team dynamics. In particular, the clinic program likes to have one member of the team be the project manager or program manager for the fall semester, and then another member of the team be the project manager in the spring semester. Sometimes one member of the team will express an interest in continuing to be the project manager across both semesters, and I would advise you to not let that happen because it reinforces falling into specific roles in the group and discourages the rest of the group from reaching outside of their comfort zone and experimenting with other forms of contribution that they maybe aren't as comfortable with.
I view the faculty advisor's role in all of this first part of the project as basically facilitating that whole process. You know, my job is to make sure if I see the students kind of going off over here, or the clients maybe not understanding, or often at the end of a teleconference, I'll say to the students, I don't think your client understood what you were saying there. I don't think you effectively communicated that, or I think they were talking about something different than what you were talking about, so you need to make sure that you understand. So the faculty advisor's job, I think, is to basically facilitate that. And so as a client, I would feel free to use the faculty advisor if you have questions, if you feel like the students aren't understanding what you're talking about, or they're not, you know, if there are any issues at all that you're not quite, you don't feel like the communication is quite well, use the faculty advisor to sort of help facilitate that.
But in general, I think they play separate roles between the liaison and the faculty from students' perspective. So a lot of on-campus internal things are really supported well by the faculty, but a lot of technical guidance and how well it aligns with the company's vision of this outcome of the project really comes from the liaison.
I think the biggest thing with faculty advisors is to make sure that you have a standing relationship with them outside of the weekly meeting with the rest of the team. At the very least, emails back and forth with them to communicate how well you think the team is progressing outside of the context of communicating with the team themselves, getting their impressions on team dynamics, whether they think that there might be a problem coming up or something like that. Just making sure that you communicate directly with the faculty advisor outside the context of the students, where you can speak with them frankly, because they're sort of fulfilling the role of a remote employer.
And also having some independent conversations to get the observations of the faculty advisor on the team, and maybe some insights into where they were struggling, or where they were being challenged, or where they were really enjoying the project, and sort of getting the experience of that. So that insight has been really helpful to us.
Some of the faculty advisors we've been engaged in and looking at employing to do research projects, and so it's a very wonderful thing. Besides the student team, that you can become more aware of the faculty here at Harvey Mudd and what their capabilities are. So that's been a huge asset as well.
It's a really unique program, and it's a really unique opportunity for our students to actually work for a company while they're still in school. And so we want to give them as realistic of an experience as possible while still kind of helping to guide them. And we want this to be, a really positive experience for the clients as well. I've done this for 17 years now, and it's one of my favorite parts of the job. It's really fun to interact with the clients every year, and it helps me to sort of appreciate what's going on in industry while I'm inside the academy.
Oh yeah, thank you for such an amazing project. It was a pleasure to work on. In fact, I'm continuing doing research with them because I enjoyed it so much, so thank you.
Get deeply involved with your students. Let them know you care about their careers, about their interests. Read up about what they did in high school. And if they know that you care about them, they're going to be more motivated, I think, to really put their heart and soul into the project. And again, it's not just about the project, it's about perhaps starting a whole lifetime career for them.